Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Hello, it's Scott, and Merry
Hello.
late Christmas. Happy New Year, I guess.
Happy 2024. It's 2024 right now. When this is out, 100%. It is 2024. So that's cool. Congratulations to the year, I guess. We're getting older. That's exciting. And we are, of course, going to be talking about Christmas time, because it hasn't left us yet, and we didn't do one on Christmas Day for obvious reasons, because it was Christmas Day, and then we didn't get a reaction out in time for Friday, because I was very sick. I'm still quite sick, and can't breathe through my nose right now, so
Good.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. Hopefully you die from this.
I think so. I think that would be good. I'd be okay with that.
It would be really good for this podcast if you were to die, you know?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's probably for the best, honestly. But we are finally in the Gatwa era. We are finally in Ncuti's Doctor, the 15th Doctor. No longer David Tennant, no longer Jodie Whittaker.
They've really got rid of David Tennant really quickly, you know. I guess he was just doing that bad of a job for him to be fired after 3 episodes. Like, that's insane.
It's a shame. I thought he was, a rising star. Probably could have been in a lot of stuff and well beloved, but I guess it just didn't work out. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, you know.
I guess it's back to CEX for him. Do you say sex? Do you call it sex?
No, I don't, because I'm not fucking 6. It's called CEX.
Like the fact that CEX call it sex is kind of weird. Like, that's not good branding.
That's the point. That's the joke. That's the haha. We're so funny and edgy.
What does CEX even
cool.
stand for?
Something Entertainment Exchange.
Central?
Yeah.
I guess.
Maybe. Yeah. But anyway, this isn't a CEX podcast. This is a Doctor Who podcast, the opposite of a sex podcast. And we are going to be talking about whatever this episode was called, the Ruby Road Church on Ruby Road. Is that it?
No, it's actually called Christmas Special, the Church on Ruby Road, according to BBC iPlayer.
Of course, my mistake. But this is going to be another really unstructured episode, just because it's more of a reaction to the episode and general thoughts on it. And my general thought coming out of this episode was,
yeah, if this is the worst episode, I think we both agree this is the worst episode of the year, and for this level of quality to be the worst episode of the year, pretty decent. You can't complain. Like, it's a really good episode.
Yeah, definitely the weakest out of all the specials, but I think that's just story-wise. I think that's just because the story is so shit, because there's no story. Because I love the chemistry, I love the acting, I love the vibes, I love everything. I loved everything in this episode, except the story, because the story was not there, and the Goblins did fuck all. And I think they presented some interesting stuff with the Goblins.
Yeah.
Where they're like kind of traveling through time guys that just kind of cause mischief because they ride through the cracks of coincidence or whatever. I loved Ncuti coming up with some like bullshit explanation for everything that was going on. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It felt very Doctor Who-y, didn't it? It felt like a very fun Doctor Who-y time.
And what Russell is trying to do here is he's trying to make this more of a fantasy show than a sci-fi show, and I would argue it's always been a fantasy show. Like, none of what happens in any episode makes any sense. We just kind of roll along with it. Like, has there ever been a Doctor Who episode that makes sense? No.
I'm sure there's probably one just on accident, but. Yeah, him saying he's going to lean into more fantasy elements, I'm okay with. But I love sci-fi more than I love fantasy, so I want some good sci-fi concepts in there still. I want some real good sci-fi episodes. I don't want every episode to be let's hunt a goblin in a mine, or let's hunt a goblin outside of a mine and chase him into a mine.
How many
as
episodes?
much as compelling as that could be.
How many episodes?
All of them have goblins in them now.
How many episodes do you think is going to open up with the Doctor saying "Once upon a time"? Because this is the second episode this year to open up with it.
We've got a whole chamber full still. That's you can tap into that as many times as you want. It's a classic way of opening a story, you know.
And you know, if you're going for the whole fantasy thing, opening up with "Once upon a time" is reasonable. You know, it's a good way to introduce the new technical fantasy elements into the show. And the episode opens up with the Doctor kind of almost meeting Ruby's mum, and what the Doctor has to say about Ruby's mum is no one ever knew her name until that night when a time traveler came to call. So does that mean the Doctor will go back eventually to find out the mother's name? Is that what's going on here?
I couldn't tell you because I don't remember that line of dialogue. Are you sure he's not talking about Ruby the baby? Because I'm pretty sure that's how I interpreted it.
No, it's definitely
nobody
about
knows
the
the
mother.
baby's name. But that's the whole thing with the mother as well. Is what they're building into this big arc with Ruby, isn't it? You know, where the mystery box of this arc, as J.J. Abrams would love to describe it as, is who is Ruby's mother, because she's somebody important apparently.
Yeah,
and I don't know who it could possibly be. Is it the one who waits? Do you think Ruby's mum is the one who waits?
or maybe Mrs. Flood is the one who waits. That's been more plausible.
Who's Ruby's mum? Who's then Ruby's mum?
I don't know.
Who's then Ruby's mum?
Well, if you think about Mrs. Flood during the episode, she sits around and waits for the TARDIS to come back. So
yeah.
So the line is, as for the mother, she was never seen again. No one ever knew her name until that night. So
interesting. That's such a weird line because they never say the name.
My theory is that the Doctor's going to come back to this point in time again and meet the mother and have a conversation with her. What I like in this episode is
she's like, my name is
Susan. Soup. So that's a good name.
Yeah. Someone's got to be called Soup.
True. What I like about the Doctor in this scene, or later on in the episode anyway, is the moment where he kind of hesitates to kind of find out who the mother is, but then he's like, nah, that's not a road I want to travel down. Because, you know, the whole thing about the Doctor in, was it season 12? Jodie Whittaker had the opportunity to find out who her parents were through the watch, and she's like, nah, that's not a road I want to go down. That's like the best part of that arc.
That's Flux.
Oh, great stuff.
That's literally the end of Flux. She decides to be like, fuck this, and but she does explicitly say, unless I don't want to fuck this anymore and I want to get it back. But yeah, she drops it in because she's like, I don't want to know anything about my parents. Just leave it a mystery. That's okay. I am who I am now.
Yeah, which is probably my favorite part of the whole Timeless Child arc, where she's like, yeah. I'm fine with it. It's fine. It's a shame that the rest of it wasn't handled right. But I think what Russell T Davies is doing here with the whole arc is really interesting. You know, I think it's more interesting than what Chibnall is doing, at least.
I think it's too early to tell, because I think we've been burned before, where we're like, oh, maybe this will be good, actually. There's some potential for this to be good, actually, and then it's not. And, of course, this was just Chibnall, and Russell T. Davies is not Chibnall. However, Russell T. Davies is not flawless, though, so it's always possible for him to just shit the bed completely.
It's entirely possible, and the worrying thing is, there might not be enough time for him to course correct. You know, if he does a storyline that's really bad and everyone reacts negatively towards it.
Yeah, because he's so far ahead.
Yeah. Like, he's like 3 seasons ahead at this point. Like, if everybody hates season 1, all the stories that are being set up, he has no time to course correct.
That's true. I never even thought about it like that. That's a real commitment to your idea of like, nah, fuck this, I'm right.
but also, like when as Doctor Whoever course corrected, actually I guess in the like 80s, but not in the modern era.
I mean, how did that work out for them?
Very badly.
When they course corrected. Yeah.
So
I don't know. Just trust showrunners, maybe.
So what do you think about the introduction to the Goblins in the TV show that Davina McCall is hosting here?
I thought it was silly. I thought it was goofy, and I was completely fine with it because I was half drunk and watching it at Christmas, and that's kind of what I want, you know?
Yeah, if I was watching this at 16 years old, I'd be so angry because, I'm an edgy 16-year-old who hates lighthearted Doctor Who, but Doctor Who needs to be lighthearted, And I've seen people on Twitter saying that Doctor Who isn't supposed to be fun. Like the most iconic episodes are episodes like Midnight or Turn Left.
Yeah.
And it's like, but those episodes are great because of the fun episodes we've had before. If every episode was dark and serious, the show would be shit because it would just be depressing every single week. It'd be like season 8. Season 8 is dark and depressing shit.
Yeah, it's that if everything's perfect, nothing's perfect sort of thing, isn't it? Like you can only have these really cool episodes where it twists the genre and goes a direction you don't expect, is if it usually isn't like that. Like things like Blink, when it's like, oh, the Doctor's hardly in this episode. If that was every episode, it wouldn't be special.
Yeah, if that was every episode, we wouldn't even be called Doctor Who at this point because the Doctor's hardly in it.
Just be called Who. Just be Who. Who's in it this week? Who's in it this week?
So yeah, my feeling about the Goblins is I think they're fine. They're basically like the Gravelins from Dead Like Me. I don't know if you've seen that show, but we've recently talked
I've never
about
heard of it.
Okay,
cool. I have heard of it. I wasn't listening.
We recently talked about it in the episode Father's Day because that's what Russell T Davies wanted the monsters to be originally. Just
right.
If you haven't seen Dead Like Me, it's about Grim Reapers and people die because of these like gremlin creatures who cause accidents. Like
yes, okay, I remember you telling me about this show. Yeah.
So it's interesting that he's been holding on to this idea for like almost 20 years, and he's finally using it here. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just a shame they didn't really do much. I liked them being little fucking dickheads, pulling stuff down and hurting folk. I thought that was fun. I thought them stealing the baby and their song. I'm apparently in the minority of people that thinks that song sounds like shit.
I love it.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun song. I think it's a fun sequence. I think it actually sounds horrendous though. And it just doesn't vibe with me. But it was a fun moment, and it's a fun little musical moment that happened in the episode. But I think their ultimate defeat and destruction was so underwhelming. And this is 2 episodes in a row now where the main villain is just defeated, and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's okay. They're just done now. All right. Because I was kind of disappointed with how they defeated Toymaker, and then it was just over. And in this one, the Doctor just straight up murders a goblin, and then they're like, cool, problem solved.
Yeah, the whole murder goblin thing has been criticized online, and I'm with the criticism. I don't understand why they needed it to be murdered towards the end. It's not justified, really.
No, yeah, the big hero moment is the Doctor fucking assassinates the King Goblin by putting a building through his chest.
Which is a reference.
Just a bunch of goblins without a king now.
Yeah, and that whole ending is actually a reference to The Little Mermaid, where Ursula gets murdered by the ship. Fun fact.
Interesting. I thought it was a reference to Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
but the guy gets a building through his face.
But when I was watching it, I was expecting the Doctor to replace the baby with a turkey or something, and then the goblins would be like, yum, yum, yum. These turkeys are better than babies, actually, so just give us turkeys from now on. I was expecting that. And everybody to be, and all the goblins to have, little Christmas hats on, pulling Christmas crackers, and just eating turkey. Why not?
instead they just run away. What happens to them after the king dies?
I think
Where
they
do
all
they go?
die.
Do they? Does the
Don't
ship
they all
explode?
die?
I don't remember the ship exploding. I feel like that would do some
'Cause
damage to the church. wouldn't
Ruby
it?
falls from the sky, but none
Don't they
of the
just
other
vanish?
goblins.
Don't they just vanish? They just like zap away somewhere.
I'm gonna rewatch your scene. It's been a couple of days since I've seen this episode, so it's a bit foggy in my memory. Yeah, so the ship kind of erases from existence.
Yeah, it just kind of vanishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ruby just falls from the sky, I guess. Although she would probably fall. She would probably die from that fall, like the whiplash alone. Like,
I mean,
for
you know,
for a
people fall
fucking
for things all the time in
for
Doctor
a
Who.
newborn, you know, whose head isn't. She could die.
Ah,
you know?
they're springy. They're bouncy. The babies are bouncy. You know, it's easy to fix them up. No problem.
So what do you think about the meeting at the nightclub where the Doctor teleports? That's fun.
Yeah, I mean most of my thoughts on like every scene in this episode was, oh, that was fun. You
Yeah.
know, like the club scene, I was like, oh, it's fun. It's nice to see the Doctor just kind of dancing in a kilt represent. You know, that was cool. I loved his interaction with Ruby's family, especially like grandma and stuff. That was so sweet.
Cherry Sunday's great.
Yeah.
You can tell
that was
you can tell Russell was really proud of the fact that he got Cherry Sunday as a main character in the show.
Yeah. Even like visually, I think the episode was great. This episode's got everything going for it, except there's the plot. Like that is the one big major thing in this episode. Is I'm like, God, I just love the characters in this. I love the vibe in this. I love the chemistry between the Doctor and Ruby. I love everything I'm seeing on screen right now. I just wish something was happening. You know?
Yeah, we get a scene. Well, the Doctor's basically following Ruby around, trying to stop all the accidents from happening, and we get a scene with the snowman, which we've seen footage of. It was just filmed like a few months ago. Like that's the last scene to be filmed for this episode, and it was actually a Disney note. Yeah, Disney wanted a quicker introduction to the Doctor. They also needed a bit of an explanation to what the Sonic Screwdriver was. And as a scene, I think it's completely fine. You know, people were of course complaining that Disney have some influence over the show, but as far as notes go, that's a really decent note. It's a fun scene, you know. Like, who cares?
It's a completely fine scene. I think knowing it was a reshoot, watching it through the episode, it feels plugged in. Like it feels like, oh, this isn't connected to the plot right now. Okay, I guess we're just with the Doctor doing some stuff. But I don't know if somebody was watching it and they didn't know it was part of the reshoots, if it would even stick out to them. Like, it only stuck out to me because I was like, oh, snowman head, you know. Yeah. And then I was like, haha, this bit was filmed very recently, actually. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, it was fun.
It is really fun to see all the scenes we've seen before, but recontextualized in the actual episode. It's like a little trip down memory lane when you first saw it in your Twitter feed like a year ago. Like the whole scene where Ruby's on the street and her bag breaks, like stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I remember this. Oh my god. Like, my favorite thing about the snowman scene is Ncuti Gatwa kind of turns into Paul McGann a bit, you know, where he predicts that his girlfriend is going to say the policeman's girlfriend is going to say yes. That's Paul McGann at the New Year's Eve party, you know, predicting the future.
That's true. This Doctor, you know, maybe a bit more psychic, like Paul McGann. Maybe psychics are going to come back in a big way again. Remember, psychics, they're all the time. They happen all the time in Doctor Who for, like, no reason. It's cool.
Of course, we get the whole scene where we get introduced to Anita Dobson. So she doesn't know what the TARDIS is initially, because she's like, oh yeah, get this police box off my front lawn. Lawn?
Yeah.
I'm tired. I've been working all day. But yeah, she doesn't know what presumably she doesn't know who the Doctor is at this point. she just finds out when the TARDIS disappears, but it's an actual TARDIS, and I get my theory is she doesn't know who the Doctor is. She just knows it's a TARDIS, because otherwise she would recognize the police box, you know. So
yeah.
So I kind of
interesting.
limits who Mrs. Flood could be as a character. She can't. I don't think she
someone
can
that
be the
knows what
Granny.
a TARDIS is, but not what the Doctor is.
Yeah.
I mean, that really just kind of makes it someone from Gallifrey, doesn't it? It kind of limits it to...
Or someone who just knows what Time Lords are, you know, she's an alien.
Yeah.
Or someone who studies aliens. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so I guess it doesn't really narrow it down at all, because the answer is still anyone.
in fact, it makes it even worse, because if she doesn't know who the Doctor is, it's not someone you've met before on the
not
show.
Someone you can guess. Yeah, it's not something you can guess.
So it's a new character is my theory. It can't be Susan. I know I've seen the theory of Susan on Twitter today, and I don't understand how it could possibly be Susan. Like, where is that coming from?
I also don't think it would be good if it was Susan. You know, like I especially if we don't ever get to see like a goodbye at least first with names. I hate names. It's on the tip of my tongue. What's her name? Susan was played by, famously, the actress known as...
I'll let you guess this one. You're not getting any hints.
Is it... it's 3 names. I feel like it's 3 names.
Yes. Don't look it up.
Carol Ann Ford. I typed up Carol Ann Ford because I didn't want to say it and be wrong. But yeah, Carol Ann Ford. I knew it was 3 names. I like, without getting to say goodbye to her first and then being like, oh, but she regenerated, you know, like, at least can we say goodbye to her before we get a new version of Susan? Like, I'm okay with a new version of Susan. That's kind of a cool idea. You know, Susan regenerated and turned into somebody else. But, like, can we say goodbye while the actress is still alive? Maybe, you know? But
I don't think we're ever going to get Carol Ann Ford back on the show, which is kind of depressing.
Maybe she doesn't want to be. Maybe she doesn't want to be, and maybe she said to Russell, you know what, fuck it, you can have Susan, I don't give a shit. Maybe that was an exact quote that she said to him. I think it was, exclusive to this podcast, that's what Carol Ann Ford said. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. But, you know, I don't want her to miss out.
So yeah, this whole episode kind of deals with bad luck. That's kind of after the 14th Doctor spread salt on the floor. And that whole thing led to this, I guess, because... Yeah,
it's dumb. I fucking can't make sense of any of that salt shit that they were trying to explain away. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna move past that part.
Invoking a superstition at the edge of the universe creates bad luck, I guess. I'm fine with it. It doesn't make sense. Doctor Who doesn't make sense ever. I just kind of roll with it. You know, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So we find out that Ruby's foster mom has a new baby. Lulu Bell is her name, I think.
I loved that stuff with Lulu Bell. Especially the name. I thought that was a really good recurring joke where every character is like, God, what a terrible name that is. Then we meet the Doctor, and the Doctor's like, Lulu Bell, what an awesome name. What a brilliant name. I love it. I thought that was great. I thought that was really, really, really fun. I really liked Ruby's mom as well. I thought she was so goddamn likable. Like, immediately, I'm like, oh my god, you're so nice. And then when the stuff happens where, like, you see the side of her where she never adopted Ruby and she turns into this totally different person, it's like, whoo, heavy stuff. Great. I love this character stuff. Families are back. And people with families and relationships with each other. Wild.
You know, like, I liked Yaz's family in the Chibnall era, but they had nothing to do.
Sure, and that, like, one episode they were in,
No, they had, like, 3 episodes. Like, I think Yaz's dad appears twice, his sister appears 3 times or something. Like, famously in that scene where they're playing Doctor Who Edge of Reality. Which, wink, wink. Wink, wink.
You have the Graham and Dan relationship, of course.
Yeah.
Not Dan. Ryan. Graham and Dan is a relationship I would have loved to see, but no, Graham and Ryan relationship, which is really good in the first series, and then by series 2, like, who gives a shit because they don't do anything.
Yeah, the problem is we wrapped up the storyline between the two
they
of
reached
them.
an end. Yeah.
And then we're just kind of hanging around, and as a result, the goodbye scene in the Dalek episode just has no emotion because it feels like they should have been gone 11 episodes ago. Like, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But yeah,
plot-wise in this episode, because from here the episode kind of like kicks off when like the baby gets taken by the goblins and Ruby like jumps out the window to go after them, and she meets the doctor and stuff, and those are the clips we got in the trailer of the doctor like bombing it down the roof and shouting at Ruby and being just charming. And it's something about Ncuti where I don't know if there's been a doctor in a while that is like immediately in their first episode I'm like, oh fuck, you're good though. You're real good as the doctor. And even at the end, I was watching this with my family who are not avid Doctor Who fans like myself, and at the end of the episode they were like, oh, that Ncuti guy, he's a charismatic dude, isn't he? You know, these are people that are the casualist of fans of Doctor Who being like, oh, Ncuti Gatwa though, he was genuinely really good in that role, and they've only seen him in one episode.
Yes.
Like, guys going places.
Oh yeah, but the fact Doctor Who picked him up just before he was going to become a superstar, I swear to God, it's like he was gonna go off to do like a Hollywood movie and win an Oscar.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have picked up Doctor Who, like that's insane. Like he is so good. He is excellent in Sex Education, which I watched over the last few months. Is really good. He is like the highlight of that show. Even when the show turns shit towards the end, he is just so charismatic.
Yeah,
his
storyline though. His story is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. We should do a sex education podcast and talk about how insane that show is.
I can't do a sex education podcast. I'm not allowed to know what sex is.
And the whole stuff with the gloves, that's fun. I do love the Doctor being a tinkerer again. Like, the fact he just
will it
stuff.
stick? Will it stick? Will this be a thing that sticks this time? Is the Doctor going to invent stuff in every episode or in some episodes? Or is it going to be a Jodie situation where he's going to do it once and maybe twice if you're lucky and you're not looking?
But in this scene, we get instant chemistry between Millie Gibson and Ncuti Gatwa, and it goes back
they're
to
great. Yeah.
I don't think I felt this good about a companion and a Doctor since Matt Smith and Karen Gillan in The 11th Hour. Like, just that instant chemistry is amazing. You can tell they became friends really quickly.
I really like Ruby already, and I didn't know, like, because I had never seen Millie Gibson act in anything before, so I had no idea what to expect, going in completely blind. Whereas I knew really, because I had watched Sex Education since it came out, I knew like Ncuti was great and that he was gonna do well in the role. But Millie Gibson was a blank slate. I had no fucking idea. But I absolutely loved her in this episode. I thought she was great. I thought the Ruby as a companion is interesting and different from the other companions, where she doesn't feel the same, even if she does look like every blonde companion the Doctor's ever had.
She looks like a mix between Rose Tyler and Clara.
Yeah, it's like you've got all the previous Doctor Who companions and put them into one person.
Yeah. But yeah, she is really good in this episode. There's some really subtle stuff she does with her acting towards the end of the episode when her reaction to TARDIS is subtle and it conveys so many words. It's amazing to watch. Like, that ending is amazing, especially Ncuti Gatwa's I am the Doctor, but just the purest Scottish accent ever. Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. What did you think of when they get into the big goblin boat? Because this was a sequence that I wish I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Because they've released this like almost this entire scene in the promo trailer thing for it when they revealed the song. They gave away so much of this scene in particular, which I thought was a shame because it was so much fun of them crawling around through the vents in the boat, you know?
I'm surprised there wasn't a Die Hard reference. Like, I guess it is a Die Hard reference in and of itself, but I was expecting them to say the words Die Hard at some point.
Is Die Hard still relevant, though?
I guess.
You know?
They are trying to do
Is
that
it?
prequel movie, I guess.
Yeah, but there's always Die Hard sequels, but no one sees them. Nobody ever sees them.
And there probably won't be any more sequels from now on because sad
They'll
times.
remake it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Die Hard. Did you know that?
Really? That's insane. That's genuinely insane. Die Hard's great. You're missing out.
I know. But I'll watch it soon enough because
Yeah.
Blank Check are doing the podcast. Blank Check are doing the director who did Die Hard and Die Hard 3, so I'll watch them all eventually.
I think I've only seen the first one and the second one when I was a kid, but the first one's the best one anyway, so
But yeah,
don't
this
even bother with the sequels.
I really like this whole goblin sequence on the ship. Like, I like Ncuti Gatwa trying to solve which bit of rope to cut down. Like, that's really fun
Yeah.
and clever because he can't use it with sonic screwdriver because there's no screws, even though I feel like the sonic screwdriver would do rope, right? Like, the sonic screwdriver can do everything.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the sonic screwdriver does everything until suddenly it doesn't. Like, remember, it used to not work on wood
Yeah.
for a while, and I guess the wood update stopped it working on rope, or maybe the rope is deadlocked 5 times over. Maybe it's, that was an excuse they used all the time as well. It's the issue when you've got the magic wand is sometimes you need to not have it. Because it makes things too easy.
And speaking of
Also, I still hate the Sonic.
Yeah,
I fucking hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
I'm
bad.
not sure what to think about it.
It's ugly. It's terrible. It's a TV remote. It's
just
straight up a TV
it's
remote.
so weird. I don't. That's apparently Russell T Davis's favorite sonic screwdriver, and I don't understand. I don't
Recency
understand
bias.
it at all.
Recency bias. Yeah, no, it's shit.
The Millie Gibson and
I think it's my least favorite Sonic ever, and I really disliked Capaldi's second Sonic.
I think my least favorite Sonic is probably the Sonic sunglasses.
No, you're wrong. They're the fucking best, though. They're the best.
The Millie Gibson and Ncuti Gatwa segment of the Goblin King song was unexpected, and I had fun with it. Like, we were just having a blast. It's really fun to watch them two sing along.
Yeah, it was very fun. Sounded terrible. Bad song. But it was fun. It was a very fun moment where I was like, God, this is a silly episode of TV I'm watching right now. What I like about Christmas specials as well, though, is they're so disconnected from the actual show itself. Like, Ncuti season could start and it's the darkest thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, we could be coming into like some real miserable fucking storytelling. It's just the Christmas special. They're always so bizarre compared to the actual show itself,
Yeah, this is absolutely special. A lot of people don't like this episode because it's just ridiculous, and it's like, it's Christmas. Who cares? Like, a lot of negative people who are anti-woke and all that, and I swear to God, I'm going to leave
Get
Twitter
off Twitter.
someday.
Just fucking get off Twitter. I'm sick of this conversation. There's like 6 people in a circle.
Oh, you'll never guess what we got angry about this week in Doctor Who. Ruby's one trans friend who had like 2 lines of dialogue. They got really upset.
It's really cool. They should go back and watch season 1 of Eccleston, because I've been watching that again these past few days. There's loads of trans stuff in that.
Yeah.
They were just too fucking dumb to realize.
Yeah, like the character of Cassandra is trans. It's not handled completely positively.
They just say it offhand. Say it offhand. It's just handled offhand.
Yeah, but it's fine for like 2005 representation. It's pretty decent, and the fact that Russell came back and was like, I could do better, and he is doing better with both trans representation and disabled representation. Like, that's really cool. It's really cool for Doctor Who to be more progressive. Like, just
no, you
Twitter.
sound like you've had too many vaccines. I thought it was cool. Like, what else happens in this episode after because I was really kind of upset And I think this is just because I really enjoyed Millie Gibson's performance so much that like 3/4 of the way through this episode she vanishes.
Yeah.
And the last part of the episode is just the Doctor trying to get her back. And I was like, fuck, no, I don't want her to be gone. Bring her back. Which I guess is the episode being effective, you know?
It is really weird pacing because for the first third of the episode, the Doctor is not present. For the last third of the episode, Millie is not present. But at the same time, you're just completely captivated compared to when, David Tennant's first episode where he's asleep until like 15 minutes into the episode.
Yeah.
Like he really has nothing to do except
tired guy. He's a tired guy, man.
He quotes The Lion King and then he loses his hand. And then he has Christmas dinner.
Haven't we all been there on Christmas? Haven't we all done that on Christmas though? Isn't that most of our Christmas experience?
So the original way they were going to defeat the Goblin King was the Goblin King was originally going to attack going along the corridor in Ruby's house, which is why the corridor is actually so long. Like the sequence would have had the Goblin King.
Yeah, it's an insanely large flat.
Yeah, especially for an attic flat. Like, that's insane.
Though they specifically, they do this line that TV shows love to do all the time. Like, they did the same on Friends, where somebody just offhandedly goes, oh, our rent-controlled apartment. You're just supposed to be like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine then.
Oh, God, I remember watching Friends as a kid thinking I was going to live in a flat like that someday.
Oh, yeah, it'd be cool.
Easily afford it. Amazing.
Oh yeah, rent control. There's so many rent controlled places. They're easy to get. Yeah.
So Ruby was originally going to fight off the Goblin King by scratching off scratch cards until she won £10, and the Goblin King would vanish and she would yell, "Good luck." That's how the episode would end.
That's bad.
I like this
That's
ending
fucking
better.
shit. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I still don't like the Doctor just murdering the guy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's better than good luck killing him, because that just raises more questions.
So yeah, the whole sequence of Ruby being erased from existence reminded me heavily of Matt Smith's era, of course. The whole crying, even though you don't know what you're crying about, reminds me of Amy Pond crying after Rory gets erased from existence. Like, that's a really apparently Russell T Davies didn't make the connection between the cracks until like Millie Gibson pointed it out to him in the commentary. He's like, holy shit, yes, that could be the same cracks from Matt Smith's era. Like, he just never considered it.
That's insane that you would write specifically about cracks in time and not go, has this happened before? Have we done cracks in time before? I feel like we've done cracks in time before.
But yeah, that whole sequence of just what was her name? Did we ever find out? We've obviously found out the name of the mum. I can't remember it.
Who? The mother of Ruby.
Ruby, yeah.
I couldn't tell you. No, I couldn't tell you. Could not.
But
tell
yeah,
you.
that whole sequence is devastating, especially when Ncuti Gatwa himself cries. Like that, his facial expressions.
Yeah, although they
crying.
they are like the fakest tears in the world, though. Like, they were like cartoonishly two streams of water coming down in a straight line across his face. Yeah.
I also like the Doctor learning that the foster mom has adopted like 33 children, or fostered 33 children, which is roughly the same amount of companions that the Doctor has essentially fostered, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's cute. It's really cute. There's a lot of cute moments in this. Also, just because I haven't mentioned it yet, Doctor with a mustache win.
Yeah,
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Even though in this episode it's glued on in this episode.
Yeah. But is this... I don't even think I've thought about this before. This is the first Doctor with facial hair? I think it is.
I guess John Hurt.
Okay, yeah,
Matt Smith
Hurt,
that one
okay.
episode when...
I mean, like, as a permanent look,
yeah.
really only John Hurt.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. More Doctors need
Jodie
facial
Whittaker
hair.
that one episode. Anything else to talk about? Not really. The whole Davina McCall thing is kind of cute when the Doctor goes and saves her from the fallen Christmas tree.
Yeah, I just wish, like, I knew who she was. I had no fucking idea who she was.
You don't know who Davina
she?
McCall is? She did Big
I have
Brother
no
for
idea.
like 18 years.
Oh, yeah, that show
a-
I've never watched.
She
She hosted that show that I actively didn't watch. Awesome.
we fucking just talked about her in The Parting of the Ways. She is in The Parting of the Ways as a voice of Big Brother. She's the lady who
Okay,
goes,
cool. Right.
"You are live on Channel 4000. Please do not swear." Funnily enough.
Okay, cool.
Funnily enough, this is the second time a Christmas tree has tried to murder someone, and this is the second season where a Christmas tree has tried to murder someone in the same season as a Davina McCall episode. Coincidence? I think not.
No, I think that was on purpose. I think Davina McCall brings killer Christmas trees to set, and they just film around that.
The post-credit scene. What did you think about the post-credit scene?
What was the post-credit scene? Remind me.
Anita
It's been a while
Dobson,
since I saw the episode.
Brian May's wife.
Oh, looking
turning
at
to
the camera.
camera.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I went, what? And it kind of spoiled a good feeling for me.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
fair.
where I was like, oh, that's, I don't know how I feel about that ending to the episode. That's kind of like that's a choice. You've made a choice there.
Yeah, it's
But like they've said it's going to be connected to a bigger thing or something, or they've implied that it is.
Russell T Davis says it's going to be a slow burn, but we will eventually learn more about Mrs. Flood. So
Okay.
we'll see what the
'Cause
hell happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Because if it's just left in the air as like this really cheesy Christmas message, like wink at the audience thing, I think I hate it. But if they explain it away in canon as something that is semi as logical as you're going to get in Doctor Who, then I'm like, okay, let's see what this is then. But right now, I'm not a fan of it.
I mean, the very first Christmas special of Doctor Who ends
Yeah.
with the first
Yeah.
Doctor turning to the camera and saying "Merry Christmas"
Yeah.
to you all at home, which I hope you
And then
included at the very start of this podcast.
and everybody was like, God, why'd you do that, William? You fucking idiot.
But yeah, it is fun. It's fine. You know, I just wonder if that's going to be a character trait that she's going to carry on from now on, because
Just keep
it would
breaking the
be
fourth wall.
weird.
Yeah.
It would be very weird if she only does it once. Like, what the hell is that all about?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell. Time will tell what is going to be happening with Brian May's wife, whose name I don't remember.
Anita Dobson. I had fun with this episode.
Yeah.
Like,
Same. If you, Scott, had
Yes?
to rate this episode between 1 and 10 on the hit website gallifreybase.com, where would you rate it? And what do you think would be the average score of the audience watching this episode at home?
well, on Letterboxd, I personally rated this episode a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I think you did the same.
I did the same, yes.
Follow us on Letterboxd. Our
You should.
details are in the...
It's in the description.
Yeah. I would say most people gave this an 8 or a 9.
What would you give it personally?
I think people gave it an 8.
Are we voting? Are we going to cast a vote for 8?
Well, I would give it a
you
7,
say?
as I said.
You could give it a 7? Well above... Yeah, actually, I would probably... I think I agree with 7. Let's take a look. It has got, coming in with a 481 votes, 28.2% off the total votes. 8 out of 10 is the general consensus, with 7 out of 10 in second place, and 9 out of 10 in third. So yeah, it feels like, I think most people have got the idea of, it was fine, it was good, it was fun.
In terms of all the Christmas specials, I think this would roughly go in the middle. Like, I think there's like 12 or 13, 14 Christmas specials. I think this is like number 6, 7, or 8. You know, it's fine. It's not the worst, it's not the best.
Yeah.
It's just fine. And I'm happy enough, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the descriptions I'm seeing in the comments here is a lot of people saying either not my taste, but kids are going to really like it, or there's an interest, if not enough substance. There's not enough depth to the episode. You know, nothing incredible. A lot of people didn't like the musical number because a lot of people hate musicals. Which is something I don't understand, because musicals are great. I don't know what's wrong with
It
people.
has to be a good musical, because sometimes musicals don't hit with me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I've not seen a lot of musicals, but I'm very picky. But whenever I watch a musical, I usually end up being like, God, that was just a romp. What a good time that was. Love them. Do enjoy them.
But yeah, this is a really good, this is a really good foundation to start a new era of Doctor Who. Like, this is getting all the pizza ingredients in. We just have to wait until May for it to come out of the oven. It's like proper pizza with pepperoni, sausages, cheese.
Wow, that's not a proper pizza. That's a murder scene.
Yum.
No, thank you. Not for me. Not for me.
What I like about this episode also, I think it's going to be one of those things where children think about it constantly, because there's the line where I think Ruby's like, do goblins all cause bad luck? And the Doctor's like, I think goblins do cause all bad luck. Yeah. And like, every time a child is going to drop a cup, I think we're going to think of this episode from now on, because I know I would have if I was like 7 years old watching this. Like, just thinking about, oh my god, goblins.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Doctor Who does in these next few years. Is it gonna reach the heights again that we suspect it has the capability of doing?
Yeah.
Is this gonna be enough of a refresh to bring some life back into the show? Not that it needs it. I think the show's always done fine, but
yeah.
Back to that cultural phenomenon that it was when it came back in 2005.
Yeah, because
it's just everywhere.
Yeah, the show's always done fine. Like, most of the Jodie Whittaker episodes were in the top 25 programs for the week. This was the #1 drama on Christmas Day, this episode of Doctor Who. So, even though it's like 4.7 million is the final result, like, nobody's watching live TV anymore. I think the only live TV I watch is Doctor Who. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. Nobody watches live TV anymore. Like, I actually just watched live TV today. I watched Wallace and Gromit, The Wrong Trousers. That's the first time I watched live TV since Christmas Day.
Interesting. I really only watch live TV for Doctor Who. I guess my family, people tend to watch it for like game shows or like like these like
competition shows like I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah, competition. That's the word I was
Dancing.
looking for. Yeah.
But yeah, nobody
but
watches.
As far as drama goes.
Yeah. It's very rare for a drama to get over 5 million these days. And Doctor Who is constantly the #1 drama of the week. Like, all episodes of the 60th anniversary were the #1 drama of the week. So I think it's a bright future for Doctor Who, honestly. Like, all those people complaining about it being woke and losing 1 million viewers are just completely wrong. I need to get off Twitter, I swear to God, because everybody's just stupid on Twitter. I swear to God, we don't understand how television works.
It's a bad website. I don't understand why anybody would use it for any reasons anymore at all. It's had its time. It's done. Put it in the past. It's like MySpace now.
Speaking of Twitter, follow us on Twitter, because this year I would like to do more posts. Sometimes I want to listen to Big Finish stories and share my thoughts, and sometimes I want to watch Doctor Who episodes on my own and share my thoughts. I want to share my thoughts on the news of Doctor Who. I want to do stuff like that to you people, because I want to talk about Doctor Who more, because Doctor Who is a great show, and I'm into Doctor Who again. This is the first time I feel positive about new Doctor Who in a long time.
I'm glad you're into Doctor Who 2 years into doing this podcast. I'm glad that that's finally caught up with you. Must have been a brutal 2 years.
But yeah, follow us on Twitter, because I will be posting more, at least. Because I want.
Yeah, I'm not fucking touching it.
I want to share more on Twitter. And more of our socials.
Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@WhoWatchesWhoPod, where you can see us in video form. Wow, look at us. I'm way sexier than you ever thought possible. Incredible. We're also available in audio form anywhere you get audio podcasts. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. There's an RSS feed to plug us into your podcast app of choice. We're on Amazon Music as well. As Scott said earlier, we have a Letterboxd we each have our own individual letterbox where we leave reviews for movies we've been watching or for certain Doctor Who episodes as well if they have a letterbox review option on them. So feel free to follow us on that. You can find us on Facebook at Who Watches Who, on Twitter at Watches Doctor. There's a bunch of other things as well. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if you're watching on YouTube. I was supposed to say this at the start of the podcast, but I forgot. So I hope that every single person watching this made it to this point and then hit subscribe when I told them to. Otherwise, you're going to make me look bad, and that's not okay.
So, Matthew,
coming up...
Yeah, what are we doing next week?
Well, you say next week. Really, you mean in a few days' time. on Friday in a few days' time, we will be going on a break, which is a perfect time for you to subscribe to this podcast when the podcast is going on a break. Oh, no, there's not going to be any videos for you, except we thought of that and we prepared in advance. So for the next 3 weeks in January, we will be experiencing the Doctor Who game Edge of Reality, which is, technically speaking, the best Doctor Who game ever made. So I'm looking forward to those videos coming out because spoilers, the game's dog shit game. Hated it. Didn't enjoy playing it again. Didn't enjoy going through all that stuff again. It's terrible. But for the next 3 weeks, we get to do that. It's our first Doctor Who game on the channel, which I think is cool. And we'll be filling up the month of January because the previous 2 years, whenever January has shown up, we've just stopped because we do the podcast nonstop every week throughout the year, like even over Christmas and New Year, as you're seeing right now. So we were like, fucking, at some point we're gonna die. We need to be able to take breaks. So we usually take January off. But algorithms hate that, and we're still a really small channel, and we've been growing a lot. And 2023 was a really good year for us, and we're hoping 2024 is doubly so with that. So we don't want the content mill to stop. So we are fully prepared. After that, the podcast will be back at the end of January with the Doctor Who news roundup in case any breaking news happens in January. I doubt it. And February will begin as we look back into classic Who with the story City of Death, which is a Tom Baker story, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's a Tom Baker and Lalla Ward story, the only two actors who played Doctor and Companion who actually married in real life. And I chose this episode specifically because it's set in France, the City of Love, and the relationship between Tom Baker and Lalla Ward was really strong at this time. And February is Valentine's Day, and also just like 2 days after Valentine's Day, we are doing a very special episode indeed, Love and Monsters. So stay tuned for our romantic month in February.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that'll be a great time. So look forward to that, and I look forward to this break coming up. That'll be fun. Another year in the bag. Now that 2024 is among us, sus. We're finally here. We're finally here, boys. We've done it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.